When I was growing up, shepherd's pie was a dish that you'd use your leftover lamb roast or some minced meat. However, the shepherd's pie that I'm going to show you today is a little more special. I'm going to be using duck legs, and I love the flavour of duck, especially when you cook it in a stew, a red wine stew, and that's exactly what we're going to start with. So to get as much flavour as we can out of this, I'm going to marinate these duck legs overnight. I really love to cook this way because after this has been marinating in the fridge for 24 hours, you'll see this meat will just change colour completely and it'll give it such a depth of flavour. So other things we must add to this. I have 1 onion and I'm going to cut that in 4. And a carrot, we'll cut that into 3. And some celery. So they're the trio, the mirepoix that we talk about that gives stews loads of flavour. I also want to put 2 peels, so 2 orange peels in here. And we've got a bouquet garni. So in my bouquet garni, I have some thyme, I have some bay leaf, and of course parsley, and that goes straight in there. Don't forget the garlic. I've got 3 cloves of garlic, and just give it a light bash just to get as much flavour out as we can. And now for the liquid. So I'm using just 1/4 cup of port, and now we need 1 bottle of red wine. So whenever you're cooking with red wine, it's really important, don't get a really cheap and nasty red wine. I would recommend using a red wine that you'd be very happy to drink. The most important thing here is just to make sure that duck is completely submerged in the red wine. All we do now is just get some cling film, cover that, pop that in the fridge for about 24 hours, and then we can start cooking the duck. Okay, so this duck has been marinating for 24 hours and you can see, look how different the colour is. It's just changed, it's taken on that red colour of the red wine. So what we do is just pat that dry really well with some paper toweling. I'll just get some olive oil here and place that into a nice deep pan. We're now going to seal this. So you want this to have a nice hot sizzle. After we get some colour on these legs, I'll add all those vegetables. We're not going to chop them up, just nice and whole as is. We'll place them in there. They'll also get some colour to them. And then I'll add some tomato paste. And just to thicken up the sauce, we'll also add some flour. Just cooked off nicely. That's going to make the sauce really thick. So we'll add all that red wine. Love that sound. So now I'm going to let that red wine bubble away. We want it to reduce slightly just to cook off that alcohol. So that's reduced nicely now. The last thing we'll add is some stock. And I've got some duck stock here, but you can use chicken stock, vegetable stock, or if you like, a little bit of water. So we'll just make sure that's covered. And we'll cook this for 2 to 3 hours. The most important thing here, like any braise, is to make sure that meat is nice, soft, tender, and it's falling off the bone. So now I'm going to place that on a lower heat over here, just for it to bubble away slowly. Another thing I'll be adding to this is speck. And it just gives the dish a really nice smoky flavour. And what I'll do is just take the skin off here, so just remove majority of that. Cut that into lardons. So lardons basically are cubes of this speck, and we just want them to be quite small, about that size, okay? And what we'll do is just grill that until it's nice and crispy. I'll also add some porcini mushrooms, and you can see them here. I've just rehydrated them in some water. We're going to squeeze them, get them all nice and caramelised, and at the end, we're going to add them. It's going to be so delicious. this has been cooking for a while now and I've just turned the heat off and just allowed it to cool slightly. The reason for that is I want to take the meat off the bones and I don't want to burn my hands. So we're removing these duck legs from the sauce. You can see how much it has reduced over that 3-hour period. It's thick, it's glossy, it's exactly the way a sauce should be, especially for this very special shepherd's pie. So you can see I've removed the bouquet garni and I've also removed the orange zest. We've still got these vegetables, and after these carrots have been cooked for so long, they are so sweet. All you do is just cut them into big chunks. I don't like them to be too small, and that goes for the celery too. I like to leave these vegetables looking quite rustic. So I'll just turn the heat on for this sauce just to warm it up slightly. I've also got some prunes, again, a very classic flavour to go with duck, and we're just going to add them to this sauce, and the sweetness of the prunes will go so well with that duck. Also, those porcinis that we fried with their pancetta before, we're also going to add that to that sauce. So you can see straight away we're building upon each flavour each time to make this really nice hearty stew that'll be the base for our shepherd's pie. Allow that to bubble away again slightly. That gives me just enough time to take the meat off all these bones, and look at this. This is why I love cooking so much. Whenever I cook meat this slow, it just falls off the bone. The meat, you could just pull it apart with your fingers. That, for me, is so exciting. And of course, it's going to taste amazing. So we'll just remove all that meat off the bone. You can see it's coming off so easily, and we'll return it to the sauce. Shepherd's pie wouldn't be a shepherd's pie without mashed potato, and all I've done is just a basic one, boiled some potatoes, peeled them, and then just mashed them with some butter and some cream. Now, all I want to do is get a little bit of parsley just to freshen it up, and I'm not even going to chop this, I'm just going to rip that straight in there because I want it to be rustic and I want that texture through it. Spoon out, and I've got a nice big baking dish here. We're just simply going to pour all of that duck braise in there. Evenly distribute that. Look at that. This is so good. Just dollop our mashed potato on top. Make sure that we evenly place that on there. So you can see it's a dry mash. It's not too mushy there. Perfect. Spread that out. I've got a little bit of an extra here. I've got some walnuts, and I like this for the crunch. And I've just paired this nicely because walnuts go perfectly with prunes and, of course, the duck. So it works really well. And again, like I said, a bit of a crunch just for that topping really makes a difference. And last but not least, we want it to be a nice golden top. So I've got some grated parmesan here, and we're going to be very generous with this. So I'm going to place that in the oven now, 200 degrees for about 20 minutes, or until that top is just nice and golden brown. I just want to show you how delicious this looks in the middle. Look at this. Oh, this is such a lovely way to do shepherd's pie. So forget the mincemeat, forget the leftover lamb that you use. I recommend using duck, and this is something extremely special to do next time you want to cook shepherd's pie.